Hello, boys and girls. It's that time again. You say, what time is it? It's time for Standing the Gaps podcast, where we are a voice and not an echo. We talk about stuff that's hopefully important to our listeners. We know that it definitely is gaining some momentum. We've got about a 12% increase or more. I mean, I'm not the numbers guy, so Aaron may correct me on that, but we're definitely increasing our listenership. So we're excited about word getting out about standing the gaps. And we've got a doozy for you today. We're going to be talking about stuff that impacts, our wallets directly, what's going on in the government, the changes that, we're specifically speaking about what, Trump's administration is looking to do with our money, which, is one of the reasons he got elected was the economy. When the eggs, I don't know, you know, how much eggs cost because I get mine pretty inexpensive and mine are free range. But I heard that they at least triple the cost of eggs. I mean, there's jokes out there all over the place. I think somebody stole $40,000 worth of eggs, and it wasn't a huge volume to get to that number. So anyway, we're going to be talking about we're going to go. Uh, we're going to have a really good show. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, and I'll turn it over to Aaron, the man, to talk about some important housekeeping notes. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, right before I get to those housekeeping notes, you reminded me of something when it came to those eggs. And for our listeners at Standing in the Gaps, we do try our hardest to be apolitical and not really push one side or the other.
Thank you.
And we everything that we do is we want to bring it through a biblical viewpoint, a just grounded in the word of God. And him talking about eggs reminded me of this story that I heard. Th- This guy was talking about his grandparents, and his grandparents were missionaries. And they usually, you know, had to really trust God for, provision, money coming in for food and stuff like that. And so they were praying, and as they were praying from up in the hill, they saw chickens walking down the road. And not just a few chickens, like a lot of chickens, single, lined, like walking, like marching down the road. And these chickens went to the missionary's house, did a turn, went into the backyard, went into the garage, and this lady's scratching her head thinking, you know, what are these chickens? Where do these chickens come from? What are they doing? And then a few minutes later, the chickens are walking out of the garage and up the hill. Okay, so she went into the garage,
Right.
and in the garage is a bunch of eggs.
Uh,
Okay,
yeah.
so she's like, "What in the world are these chickens doing?" So she gathers up all the eggs. She goes up the hill to figure out where these chickens are coming from,
Mhm.
and went to the house where they were at. I went to the person at the door, and lady came up, and the missionary lady said, "Your chickens came into my yard and laid a bunch of eggs. Here, I want to give you back your eggs." And the lady's like, "No, no, that's not my chickens. My chickens don't lay eggs. They're just not laying eggs. I tell my husband to get rid of them, but they refuse because they refuse to lay eggs.
Mm.
So I can't take these eggs. You have to keep these eggs." And over the span of a year, every once in a while, these chickens would do the march down the hill
Oh my.
to the garage to lay their eggs.
Oh wow.
And this lady was able to, one, have eggs to eat, and also she started a egg selling business to cover their expenses.
Wow.
I heard that story and I'm like, dude, that that is awesome. And that's the God that we believe that we believe is real and standing in the gaps. And so I thought, since we were talking about eggs, that was a good little segue.
No, that's a good story. Thank you. Well, that gives us, well,
Yeah.
that's really tantamount to our show and what we believe because, obviously we're going to highlight some very emotional, situations. I mean, you know, and I like the fact that you're talking about the fact that we're apolitical because, I mentioned the fact that, Jesus Christ is not, Democrat, Republican. He's definitely not a libertarian. He's for righteousness. So I'm just, I'm definitely apolitical. I'm about get it, small government, and proper representation. That's what I'm about. Having true, it's very easy to get sucked up into this vacuum that we're in. And I don't want to get into eschatology. That's not the purpose. There's plenty of shows out there that you can get into eschatology. But and for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, because I know we have listeners for different faiths, but eschatology means the study of the end of things. Okay, it's the study of endings, and a lot of people believe we're in the end of times. So the thing is that things are definitely shifting, but what I'm saying is you can get caught up in very fearful and art. That's not the purpose of today's show. Today's shows really give you hope in the fact that and you may be on the anti-Trump side and want to give you balance. We want to give you actual facts. We're not far right, or far left. There's a plumb line in the center, and that's even with the stuff we share. You got to think for yourself. You got to be a critical thinker, and that's very important. That's what we hope to inspire you today is to critically think about the information that you're sharing. So to stay before you go into housekeeping notes, because you want the egg things up, and I don't want this to come out of my mind, but and I should have I tried to pull her up. Maybe Aaron, you in your research know who I'm talking about, but there was a certain federal employee that was directly responsible for the egg prices increasing, and she refused to leave. They had to get security to pull her out of her desk because she was that adamant about staying. And she's the one who had all those chickens killed that caused the shortage of eggs. And it turns out, I can assure you, and somebody could argue with me on this, but let's just let's just realize so now if you're of a certain faith, you think we've been around for at least five close to 6,000 years. If you're of a scientific bent, we've been around for millions of years, okay? So how the hell have we survived so long and we rely on modern medicine? It's called modern for a reason. Now, I'm not putting it down, it has its place, but to just blankly be like a sheeple and say that you'd have to hard convince me to make me think that I'm gonna get sick from a bird. Just you know, there are people, talk to any person that's been in the war about germs, Eric, talk to the guys that have been in the battle line who learned how to eat in their foxhole, and there was and I'm not talking about being, you know, unsanitary, but they were in some pretty unsanitary conditions. And there's a thing called the immune system. I didn't mean to go there, but I'll go there right now. But there's a thing that's called the immune system. And if you make your immune system weak, that's where the problem is. So anyway, I go ahead, go to your housekeeping notes, my friend.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Oh, oh, excuse me. Wow. Yeah. So if you're really enjoying this so far, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. If you want notifications on when we bring out videos, go ahead and hit that bell icon You can also check us out on our Facebook group where we talk about these things on there. We also have our website where we have blogs and other useful information that helps with your everyday life. So check it out. The website is standinginthegaps.org, and you can check that out. All the links are in the description, and you can find this podcast on YouTube and every other podcast platform, which is really good. And if you want to purchase some merch, we have our merch store where we have t-shirts, hats, mugs, and coffee. Not as good as Thai coffee, but pretty close. So check it out, and the link for the merch store is in the description. One of the we talked about us growing, and yeah, this past January and this part of February, we definitely seen a lot of growth. We hit some really good videos with our Standing the Gaps news deep dive.
But we have 84 on our YouTube channel, wasn't it? Something like that. 84,000.
One of our shorts was 24,000 views.
Oh, so we're even higher.
Yeah, that's just one of our shorts. Our average shorts are doing about 400 up to 2,000 on average. And our shorts are little snippets of our full-length deep dives and our Standing in the Gap live episodes that we're doing here. And so we've seen a lot of growth. But recently, one of our biggest tools that we've been using is vidIQ, and it absolutely shifted my thinking of how to bring forth YouTube videos, how to rank those videos. And so if you're interested in vidIQ, the link is in the description. We are part of the affiliate program, and so you clicking that link really does help us out a lot. And also you clicking that subscribe button, it takes 1 second, and it really does help us out so much with the algorithm and reaching more people. So check that out. And if you find you really enjoy this, you really enjoy the deep dives, please consider supporting us at our GoFundMe campaign. We're looking to upgrade our system, our computer, our webcams, microphones, and also fixing up our studio, which is very important to bring these broadcasts out. And also, you're giving, like, we're bootstrapping this, we're crowdfunded, and so we desperately need your help moving forward. So please consider giving to the GoFundMe campaign so we can keep our lights on. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. We also, shoot a comment down below. We really do enjoy hearing your thoughts, and we read and reply to all of the comments. So please shoot us a comment. Let's have a conversation, and let's keep the conversation going. All right.
So we're gonna talk about, it's all about the Benjamins. 100 Benjamins, $100 bills. It's all about our money. This episode. The Secretary of Treasury, who, by the way, is a homosexual. He's a gay man. And to those of you who think that, you follow that diatribe out there that Trump is a homophobe, well, guess what? He's not, he's not a homophobe. He understands certain things, and he's a big supporter. He's the supporter of the gay and lesbian community, but not a supporter of these molestation and messing with children. And so that's where the discussion comes down to. So anyway, the amazing thing is that, I had thought, before Trump was going to come in his second term, he's going to focus on another strategy, which I think he still may use down the road, more of a nuclear strategy. And believe me, somebody's saying, well, what's he's doing right now is pretty nuclear. Yeah, it is, but there's still something else he can do, which I think he'll only do if he has to. Right now, I'm excited about what the Secretary of Treasury has said because, you know, um, early on in our program, and I don't remember, it was maybe a month. What was it, 2 months in there? We did the show on the gold standard. Was it 2 months in?
Oh, that was 2 months from the beginning of last
Right. So
year.
we're talking March. March.
So maybe 10 or 11 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So March of last year, we did an episode, and it was called the exact title, but it was something about the gold standard. And the interesting thing was the very day we recorded it, we didn't realize how prophetic the show was going to be because the day we recorded it, the first country to go back to the gold standard made the announcement in the news the very day we recorded our session, and that I believe was Zimbabwe went back to the gold standard. And we did a program or a short, a deep dive, I believe, on the pros and cons of gold standard. But I was really impressed that the Secretary of Treasury said that in one of his first statements, even before he was confirmed. I believe he talked about, and I could be wrong on that, but he talked about going back to the gold standard. So that is an exciting thing to hear because I'm a firm believer that if we go back to the gold standard, our economy is going to be much, much better.
Yeah. On the screen, you'll see right now I think it's either Twitter or True Social comment. And he says, as the Treasury Secretary, I'm committed to eliminate income tax, replacing them with fair consumption tax, and adopting a gold-backed currency. Yeah. And
Mouthful.
that is
because that's nuclear. That again, there's one other thing they left out, which I'm glad they did. It's not the full, like it doesn't matter. Like even if they don't do that fourth thing, I'll be okay about it because this will. The fourth thing, which I'm not going to mention on the show because I value my life, but the fourth thing would make it go really quick. We get out of debt, but now I see a way to getting out of debt for this country because one of the things is if you and I had 37% more of our income in our pocket, that's going to help. Obviously, if you are a person that's not disciplined, it's still not going to make a difference. You just increase your debt load, but that's going to help. 37% more money back into the economy rather than being in these big government behemoths where they're siphoning off the money to go overseas. And the amazing thing is that, and he didn't mention this, and I don't know if he ever will, but some of you made me think, well, that's pretty bold. How can that happen? No, it's not, because if you look at the law, which the IRS was founded on, which income tax, if you look at the law, only 1%, if you follow the letter of the law, only 1% of the entire country of people that are paying taxes are actually supposed to be paying taxes. And you say, where's the money going to come from? We're going to talk about that later on, where the money is going to come from. But tariffs is one of the ways the money is going to come from, and the consumption tax that he's talking about. But these are the, sorry, So it's not that big. I want people listening to our program to be the ones that tell their friends, neighbors, relatives, family members, significant others that he's really only talking about which should only be 1% anyway, because the 1% that are supposed to pay according to the law is anyone that engages in a federal government granted licensed occupation, those who work for the federal government. So the very ones that don't probably pay their taxes should be paying taxes. In the federal government inside Washington, D.C. or its territories, and those who are fiduciaries to foreigners earning USA source income. That was the original income tax, but then it started to go beyond that. And I think you had didn't you say something about the war that caused that to happen, Aaron, where they started income tax? Yeah, I know you and I were having a conversation. Maybe it was in another realm. But basically, if if you institute tariffs and institute a consumption tax, we'll have so much money, so much more money at. Am I right?
Yeah. And one of the cool things about consumption tax is most likely the tax is going to be on the businesses. Okay. So what they're going to do is they're going to, you know, quarterly, probably quarterly, the business will have to put in the amount that they would sell it for, and then they would put the difference in. So they would be taxed on what they sell it for instead of us paying that consumption tax. So most likely the only thing that we will see is a small jump in the cost of the product. But you're talking about products mostly like cars, refrigerators, washing machines. Big ticket items are the ones that are going to get this consumption tax. I believe, and don't hold me to this, but I don't see how they can't, not do it this way, where there will be no consumption tax on like food and clothing. I remember years ago when that was the case. There was no tax on food, no tax on clothes. And then that changed. But I don't think they're going to put the consumption tax on that. And so what this is going to do is it's really going to change a lot because our whole economy is based on consumption right now. That's why during the event that we're not supposed to talk about, you'll know what I'm talking about, and they handed out stimulus checks. They weren't rewarding their people, they weren't blessing their people, they were trying to stimulate the economy by saying, here's some money, buy your stuff with it. But in a lot of cases, it backfired because people were so far behind in their rent, in their electricity bills, that they turned around and used that money for their bills, which is a smart thing to do. But that's not what the government wanted you to do with that money. And so this flips it around. So it's going to create an atmosphere of savings instead of consumption, because you're going to get these extra price bumps on products that are expensive, and you're not going to get any penalty for receiving money that you're in your paycheck. There's no more of that. So much that they're going to either completely remove or revamp the IRS.
I mean, you think about that, the 80,000 that Biden wanted to hire, they're gone. And then, IRS is going to still be around, but it'll be such a small entity. I want to read you something from somebody that I'm not going to mention this person's name, but he posted this on the Bongino report, Bongino report. The income tax, as most people believe in it, is all based on government propaganda. The truth is that 99% of working class Americans are not required to file or pay any federal individual income taxes. How do I know this? I personally studied the law and found out that the government has been lying to us. That's why I haven't filed or paid any income taxes for over 30 years. Now, this is not the only person I know that's done this. I know a lot more people that have done it. In that time, I've had just 3 encounters with 3 different government entities that all proved my legal status was correct. Okay, so he understands what his legal status is. I'm not required to file legally. You're welcome to pride. So basically, he's saying if you understand the law like he understands the law, so do your own research, find out. There are a bunch of podcasts out there where some of them are actual lawyers, some of them are not lawyers, some of them they're people that actually know the law. And all you need to do is revile if somebody, before this is going to be a mute point soon. So, I'm sure this, but basically, I'm hoping they do it quick enough that we don't have to be concerned about it at all. You know what I'm saying? And it's just paying income taxes has never sat right with me ever. It never has, and now I know why, because it's not something that you're supposed to be required to do. You know?
Yeah, and so this new change is definitely going to put more money in your pocket. And I think that with most Americans, that's what matters to them more, is that they have less taxes and more money in their pocket. And I believe that we're going to get into some other ways that the government is going to receive money shortly. But I think that's really what matters to Americans, you know. But the government needs money to provide safety, for the military, and for growth, for roads, infrastructure, and stuff like that, which is very important. But in the grand scheme of things, America just wants to know that they're not going to go broke and they're not hurting financially, because that's what the last 4 years under the Biden administration, that's what happened. Americans got hit hard in their pockets.
There's a multi-pronged approach going on here. You've got Doge, which everybody's flipping out over.
Democrats agree that Musk is a problem, but listen to them today, and they have a piñata in search of a stick.
To our Republican colleagues, if you do not see the light, we will bring the fire. Resist!
We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your asses.
We have days to stop the destruction of our democracy. We have work to do. Tell Elon Musk to take his hands off your money. We don't pledge allegiance to the creepy 22-year-olds working for Elon Musk. We pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
And goddamn it, shut down the city! We are at war!
We will win. We will win. We will win. We won't rest. We will
Changes it up.
They need
Can we
the
play it
Democrats.
again?
And here's the interesting thing. You had the hurricanes in Florida that impacted North Carolina and the wildfires in California. And I don't remember seeing any politicians like going to those things and yelling, Elon and a bunch of 20 some odd and 30 some odd year old, much more intelligent people than myself, have started to uncover the money. You've got these politicians screaming, and they don't even know. There's a clip out there that they don't even know what their message is. Like they caught them off guard.
What do we need?
Like you hear it and like you can't discern. Like it's worse than a Tide show where people had to use closed captions that don't understand like guys music. I'm not putting it down. It's just that they're not used to it. But you cannot discern because everybody's got a different reason why they're yelling. And so, it's amazing to me that you're realizing that really what's going on is the fleecing of America is over. That's why we're going into the golden age. That's why, when Trump made that statement, he was covering a whole bunch of stuff because he loves gold. If you ever see some of his places, he just, it's a precious metal. He's, you know, my personal taste is not that I consider it a little tacky, to be honest with you, Aaron, but he loves gold fixtures. And, it's amazing to me because Paul Zane Koster, who's a famous, and I've talked about him on previous shows, economist, NYU professor, he says that, and this is so true, that a depression really is a psychological phenomena. And what it is that a recession will go into a depression if people are afraid. And that's what was going on. That's what this political, I won't even say the Democrats because I feel bad. It's not the whole Democratic Party. The progressives, the socialists, they were steamrolling us into a depression, and where everybody does not only do they don't have the money, but they're afraid to spend any of their money. And when you get a country that stops spending their money and stop investing in their own real estate and different things like that, like people flip out about China owning stuff, and it is bad. But guess what? Sir Huckabee proved what happens is the true landowner. It's our land, and so she kicked those Chinese companies out. So even foreigners coming in and buying land, all this propaganda, the threats. The only threat you and I have to worry about are the threats that Trump won on: the economy and immigration, and they both dovetail into each other anyway. Immigration and the economy, they're hand in glove. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just excited about where we're going.
All right, so we're gonna get into Trump's tariffs, his sovereign wealth plan. People are gonna say, "Oh, I don't know what that is." We're gonna explain that, and also talk about a few other ways the U.S. is gonna make tons of money. We're just gonna take a quick little break while we have a word from our sponsor, London School of Supernatural Ministry.
We've all been told that discipleship is important, and yet our experience of discipleship has not been great in our walk with Him. That's something we are turning around here at LSSM. We use Bethel's amazing curriculum, year 1 and year 2 curriculum, that really helps people not just know more things, but to live it out in their lives, to live it out in everyday life, to see God move in power, to see your neighborhood change, to see where you live, to see your family change, and to see you confidently knowing who you are and how intimate you are can be with Him, how wonderful, how great He is. So come and find out more. Just book a 15-minute call. We'd love to talk to you and see you on your journey of going to know Jesus better.
All right, we're back, and we're gonna get into these cool things that the U.S. plans on doing to provide for the government, to provide for the military, and the cool thing is, it's no money out of your pockets. All right, here we go. Okay, so I want to. You've all heard tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. It's Trump's favorite word. We're going to get to that in a second, but I want to talk about his sovereign wealth plan. I did a deep dive about it a couple days ago, and it's really interesting. I guess there's a few nations that are really well off because of a sovereign wealth plan. Okay, so one of the nations are, well, the nations are like Singapore. And Singapore, what they did was they took extra surplus money in their government, and they took that surplus money and invested it into technology. Now, those investments, technology grew, those investments paid off, and they were able to really vamp their just the building of tall buildings and really cleaned up the country of Singapore. Another one that is big is Saudi Arabia. Exact same thing, because the thing is Singapore does not own those tech companies. Saudi Arabia does not own those oil companies. They didn't tax them. They invested in them. And because of that, they were able to get a huge return. Look at Dubai, same thing. And that's what Trump wants to do. And it all ties in together because that's what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing. They're finding that those extra bits of money, those things that they can cut. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to build this sovereign wealth plan that's going to invest in companies, oil companies, solar companies, alternative energy companies. They're investing in AI, huge. And so that's what they're going to do to grow these money pockets. Now, the sovereign wealth plan is a long-term project. Okay, so we're not going to see the payouts probably in Trump's term, but 5-6 years down the road, when AI is bigger, when we're providing more oil, gas, and natural resources, when we're getting more solar power, that's when we're going to start seeing a return on the investment. And dude, I'm hoping that in 10 years, in my lifetime, we're going to see flying cars.
Well, that it's interesting, but they actually China has the first flying car. It's actually in China. They've got it out. They just it's beyond prototype or maybe prototype. But I came across the article. Actual the range is not anything great to speak of, so it's just more of a city type of thing. But yeah, I think you're right on that.
So is it like a prop drone kind of thing with
Yeah.
propellers? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You got to check it out. But no, you're right. It's amazing what genius is happening. I have to go back to this, but it Doge is putting a pause, first of all, which people don't understand. It's a pause. It's not and they want to make sure that the money goes to pro-American agenda, which there are some. I'm going to guesstimate, and this is just an Erico estimation based on the greed, manipulation, and freakish nature of these people. But I'm gonna say probably 13% of USAID will continue to flow. I think we're looking at like 87%. It may be a little high, but when you find out that these politicians are screaming the fact that you're not allowing the money to go to a transgender sensitivity training program in Iran. Are you serious? There's no transgender sensitivity program. No, not one person, Aaron, in that country would be caught dead in that room because they cut their head off. That Muslims do not go for that. that true Muslims, true jihadists, they don't want any.
I have a question. Okay. So, day one of Trump's presidency, okay, he signed a bunch of executive
100 or
orders.
so. Yeah.
One was completely destroying, was it DEI
Yes.
in the government? Okay, USAID is a government-made entity, right? So shouldn't that executive order completely like ban any, of those things?
Especially since,
So
I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't want to,
no, go ahead. No, no,
especially
no.
since it was an executive order that created the USAID. It was in Kennedy's term. Okay. And so Congress has no right to touch. No, you don't touch. That was an executive order that instituted that. So an executive order is closing. No big deal. No bigs. No bigs. It wasn't around before. And Kennedy had the right intention of doing it because, again, that 13%, like, yes, you do want, uh, like, so much more money could go to what these again, I don't want to say that, what these socialists want to do. Don't they understand? If you truly are a socialist in heart, then you'd want this money to be accountable to get to those bloated children in Papua New Guinea that don't, don't have food, because then more money can flow to those programs because you have an accountable oversight instead of giving, adults identify themselves as cats litter boxes, for classrooms. It's just, it's like, what it's really doing again is separating, the Democrats are in so much trouble. They have to distance themselves from these socialists, and these socialists are not willing to let go because they're power hungry. Because now, it's going to be like, I can only imagine what Thanksgiving this coming year is going to be like. Where like these pro Obama people, pro this, they're going to have not a lot to say because they're going to see their eggs are going to be cheaper. They're going to have 37% more in their paycheck, and they're not taking from those countries that need our help. We're still going to help those countries that truly need it. I mean, you just think about it. I mean, Trump waited. Somebody said this recently, and I think it's true. I think it was better that Trump lost. I'm sorry, he didn't lose. He actually won. But I think it was better that they stole it because it gave Trump time to do a real deep dive, time to think about who his true friends were, time to make these tough decisions like a Tulsi Gabbard and an RFK Jr. to say, hey, you know what? Let's come together. You know what I'm saying? Time to really shake out and so you're going to see more and more Democrats. I don't think it's going to be along those lines. I mean, look at the mayor of New York City. I know he's in trouble right now for some of the immigration stuff, but look at what Trump's willing to do for him. They were going to prosecute. Biden was going to prosecute the mayor, and Trump said no. So I mean, he's even helping people that are giving him some headaches on the immigration front. So I no one's perfect. Mistakes will be made, but honest mistakes instead of ill-motivated mistakes is what I'm all about.
We have a deep dive. If it's not out before this, I think it will be out before this because I'm going to do it in a couple days, where we're talking about the attacks on Elon Musk, the attacks on Doge, and what the law really says. A lot of people are saying that he's not, elected, or there's no oversight and stuff like that. All that is going to be explained in the next one. And so I'm very excited about that.
Can I just speak about one thing? Just
Yep.
this week, caught these, I got to be careful because people will claim I'm not a Christian if I use slang, but I'm going to use it anyway because I believe in Jesus and he loves me and he'll just put his fingers in his ear. But those bastards sent $59 million to five-star hotels in New York City for illegal aliens, not immigrants, illegal aliens. And I'm kind of upset that, people aren't, they need to get that term because Trump said they're illegal aliens. Call them by their right name. And even the right media is still using, the politically correct. No, they're illegal aliens. They're staying in five-star hotels. Are you kidding me? That's crazy. That's like a slap in the face to say, and what's going to happen to those people? Well, guess what? If they're going to stop that check from happening, that there's a call being made on the other end that says, we need to now house these people. Let's get them. Let's find out the ones that are supposed to go in orange suits, get them out first. And the other ones will put in Super 8s or Motel 6s. You know what I'm saying? At least somehow look at it and make him more accountable until they can.
Yeah, I know that they are opening up Gitmo again. And so it's no problem. Okay? So part of Gitmo have for prisoners, and the other one, build, nice housing to house them for a period of time until they can be moved to their country. But what irks me is like you're saying, they put them up in five-star hotels, but the veteran that bled and saw his buddies die in war is living on the street corner. So they go in, if there's a veteran and an illegal immigrant on a corner, they're going to come and grab the illegal immigrant and put him into the nice place and leave the veteran, the American citizen. It's just, I'm going to use a little bit of slang too, okay? It's ass backwards. That's really what it is. The American government should be helping American citizens. That's the whole point of being a citizen of a nation. And we're kind of going off subject and a little bit on a rabbit trail, but yeah, it's stuff that we're very passionate about. We're very passionate about, the homeless problem in the US, and very passionate about the illegal immigrants that are, getting our tax dollars. I would rather have our tax dollars go to war heroes, people that fought for this nation, that fought to keep our rights. Those are the ones that we should be helping out. But anyways, is it safe to transition to tariffs now?
Let's save.
Tariffs. Trump loves his tariffs. Okay. So there's a lot of up and down transition going here. Okay. We do see on February 1st, he green-lighted the tariffs on a few nations. On regular imports from Canada, 25%. On energy, like gas and stuff like that, it was a 10% tariff, so it was cheaper because they wanted to keep that flowing. Mexico, 25%, and then 10% to China. A few of these nations changed their mind when it comes to the tariffs. It really hit them hard. So Mexico said, okay, President Trump, we'll give you 10,000 soldiers to put on the border to stop these drugs from coming in. And then Trump was like, thank you so much. We will postpone your tariffs. We'll push them back. If you keep your word and you keep those troops there, then we'll keep pushing it back and pushing it back. And so I don't know if it's all 25% of Mexico's tariffs, um, were pushed back or a portion. But this is going to be the big money maker. Now, Canada took it the opposite way. They were like, you're going to put 25% tariffs on our stuff. We're going to put 25% tariffs on your stuff. And they went on the defensive. Now, Trump being a compassionate man, and in this case he was, he said, well, what we'll do is we'll delay your import tariffs. We're still going to have the tariffs on energy, but we're going to delay the other ones, which I'm kind of shocked. I thought he was going to be like, you're putting 25% tariffs on our stuff? Okay, well, we're going to change that and put 100%. Just to kind of strong arm him into doing this. Because the thing is we have American citizens that are dying because of fentanyl, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is the big drug out there now that's killing American citizens. And that needs to stop. It needs to change. But also he wants all these countries, by all these countries, I mean every single country of tariffs. There's countries that slap huge tariffs on us. Some Asian countries that have 100% tariff on it, which is going to jump up. But give me 1 second, Richie. Can you share a little bit? I'm going to get up the spreadsheet that I talk about the daily amounts.
Yeah, the tariff game, I call it a game because it really is like checkers, not necessarily chess, but checkers, because you gotta, jump over certain hoops and look at things from different angles. You got to plan your next three moves. And so I think the whole Canada thing is because Trump knows Trudeau's on his way out and he doesn't want to deal with Trudeau. So he's like, you know what? Let me just back off. He's already got a relationship with whoever Trudeau's replacement is. And that's where the true negotiation will come in. I think he just realized that, that's what I think is going on. And I think he's still talking about them becoming the 51st state, which I find quite interesting, so, and listen, they said they scoffed at the Gulf of America and it's now in Google as the Gulf of America. They scoffed at DEI and Pride Month is now removed out of Google Calendar. So, they scoffed at, the Panama Canal and look what's happening in Panama. It'll eventually be ours again. It doesn't happen overnight, but already, you see the changes that are happening. And we did do a deep dive. Those of you want to get more information on the Panama Canal, you can look up in on our YouTube channel. We have a really good deep dive on that whole subject. So the thing is that those who are close to Trump that share not personal stuff about him, but share about how the man is, he has, who wants it? But he said that most men who achieve greatness don't achieve greatness until they're at least 70 years old. Trump himself likes to surround himself with 60-year-old billionaires. Now, he doesn't mind young billionaires like Elon, but the 60-year-old billionaires he likes because they're getting to that age where they've got the age factor. So I know Trump is probably counseling Elon, even though Elon's worth more money than Trump. I think it's a good combination. I think they have a good mentor-mentee relationship, and I think Elon's really listening to Trump in certain areas. So, the whole point of this is that you can see everything shuffling around. And so, there were some people out there that were talking about how this is going to be, worse. It's not, because, they had the rallies and 50, they called it, I forget the ridiculous name, but They showed the pictures of these rallies in the 50 capitals, Aaron, and Washington, D.C. looked like the amount of people that should have been at the Hartford Capitol. That's how few of people showed up. They're just that because the average working person is not going to, because it's not hands off my genitalia march or anything of there's nothing that you know they can't get themselves those who even believe in that transgender at a young age is okay. They're realizing that sign they you can only tell a lie so long, and all these lies are now losing. And the Democratic Party showed their hand with these what they tried to do with this USA thing. So now it's like there's still some yellow lights, but Trump has green light in a lot of areas. He's got some yellow lights. He's got one red light, which again I won't discuss. Some of you want me, hey Vinny, you keep hitting about the red light. Well, the red light he should have, because I want to see him stay alive. So much worse than Iran trying to kill him. Which I don't want to go down that tangent. But my point is that the things he's doing now, 2 years from now, I would have said it would take about 2 terms, but 2 years from now, we're going to see a totally different country. I see it happening. I really do. I see it.
Yeah, it's definitely supercharged right now.
Yeah.
To see this change, yeah. If you're enjoying this conversation, if you're enjoying Standing in the Gaps, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up, and we appreciate it very much. I got these numbers now. So what we did was we took the 2024 daily amounts that these nations brought in and figured out what it would be if those numbers had the tariffs, so we can get an estimate of how much money the U.S. is bringing in on just these new tariffs for these 3 countries. And so this is just an estimate. This is not hard fact. But like China brought in $1.47 billion per day in products. Okay, so the 10% tariff on that would be $147 million per day. Okay, that's huge.
That's $4 billion a month.
I got it.
Yeah, no, we did it. We did it. It was something like 50 billion a year, close to 50 billion.
Well, no, it was per month. It's 4 billion $410 million.
So like I said,
and that's
close to 50 billion for the year. So yeah, that's huge.
And that's just China, and that's just the 10% tariff. Okay, we also have Canada, 1.6 billion per day, which the tariffs on just their non-energy is 265 million. And then their energy one is 10% of 117 million. So that's 11.7 million. And then Mexico import per day was $1.37 billion. And so that's $342.5 million. We're looking at, for just those 3 and just the new tariffs, an estimated daily income of $766.2 million. Okay, 766.2 times 30 we're looking at 22,986 million per month. So yeah, it fluctuates. Some days it's less, some days it's more, but on an average, that is huge. Because then just on these tariffs, if they just took these tariffs and they put it towards our debt, how fast can that debt really drop?
And you add the money that's coming back from USAID, coming back to us, the clawback that's happening, and the stopping of those programs. So you pull that in. I mean, what's been paid out, I don't know how much of that they can get back, but they're clawing back as much as they can. And then on top of that, we're no longer going to be minting pennies. And so, because it costs us 2 cents, so Trump was smart, get rid of pennies. So we'll round it off to the 5 cent. That'll bring money in. That'll bring money in, because if it's 6 cents or higher, it'll go to 10 cents. That's an extra 4 cents coming into that. All adds up. I know it's pennies, but if you ever see the movie Office Space, you realize that these guys, they figured out a way to get a penny on every transaction, and they became multi-billionaires. So there are people that make fortunes off the percentages. So you look at all these things together, and you can really see how the golden age of America is gonna happen.
Yeah, between, tariffs, those things that you talked about, and energy through this sovereign wealth plan, it's these monies that are going to be what funds the sovereign wealth plan for a better tomorrow, a better economy tomorrow. And so, yeah, it's going to hurt a little bit. We're going to see a little higher prices, but if it evens out with higher prices of goods but less taxes, then we should be okay, and we're going to see a better future tomorrow.
I mean, the whole genius of all this, and I'm not an economist, this is just me thinking, but they should make, if they're really serious about doing it, everyone should get a major refund, because they could bring enough. All these things together will bring enough money to do this, to give everybody a refund in April. A refund, a fund, and that will turn around, and it will bring new money into the economy, because they won't be afraid, and they'll actually start spending, which will add to the consumption tax and the goods tax and the tariffs, the people that buy those foreign. So it's a spillover effect. It really is, Aaron. That would be a true stimulus. That would be a true stimulus. I don't know if they could make it happen.
And yeah, I don't know if they can make it happen that short. That would be awesome if they did. It would be a huge victory for Trump and for the American people. We'll see. If not this year, then next year.
Yeah, if they put a stop on it, maybe not everybody getting a refund, but just to stop, you know what I'm saying? And how they could do it, but make it there's got to be a way to, they do have to stop it, though. It can't be like a kind of, a little bit here and a little bit there. It's just got to be across the board. No.
Well, with this funding freeze, I wonder if that's going to affect the payment of income tax refunds. So I'm not entirely sure about that. I have to do a little more research on that one, but that just popped into my head. But the thing is, if they get all this moving right away, then that's going to be a very good thing for America.
Yeah. It will. If they make this year the final year, they should have to file income taxes. This meaning to 2024 in 2025, then everybody who gets their refund checks, which, if they're fearful they're going to hold on to it, they'll start spending it, because they're not afraid. They're realizing we're on the way back. We've go do that vacation or
Yep.
buy this or buy that, so or invest, put the money into an investment. And so we see a lot of things happening. Uh, we're on the way back. Amen to
Amen.
that.
The golden age. Yes.
Welcome to the golden age, my friends. Well, I hope this has been insightful for everyone. I know I've been enjoyed this talk because it's all good. It's all good, as I say. So remember this: no matter what comes our way, the best with a capital B is yet to come.
Okay. If you really liked this episode and you want to know more, over on the thing, you can watch this next video on Trump's sovereign wealth plan that I did. It's on there. It's really good. Check it out. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching. And thank you guys for subscribing and commenting as well. If you want, you can support us at our GoFundMe. Link is in the description. And have a wonderful and amazing rest of your day.